coast of Vietnam. Had a brand new ensign DCA run a drill, dewatering drill.
Uh-huh.
So I went down and told him how I dewater and shore it up. He goes, "That's really nice, Petty Officer Shepard." He says, "What happens if I kill you?" I said, "Your ship sinks." He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "See the two strikers behind me?" I said, "You put this thing in dry dock, they can weld a plate over the hole, but they don't know DC. We'll teach them." I said, "In 2 weeks." Let's get
Officers.
real.
What ship were you on?
USS Lockwood,
Okay.
FF-1064, out of San Diego. Yeah.
Yeah, that was on a FF
McNamara's Folly.
1044 Brumby out of Charleston, South Carolina.
Ah.
Mullenix DD 944 out of Norfolk, Brooklyn, and Charleston. USS Semmes DDG 18 out of Charleston.
Oh, wow.
USS Duncan FFG 10 out of Long Beach, and USS Haler, the last DD 997 out of Norfolk, and then 2 reserve centers, Lexington, Kentucky. God, I love that. 4 years there, and then 3 years in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I did my 4, and then Mama said she wanted me home instead of shipping over. So, of course, the bad news for her was I got out of the Navy and saying you want to support the Confederacy. You died.
Uh-huh.
He was a very vicious individual. Though there is one story about him where he went to one farm on the plateau and tried to intimidate the wife of a farmer. The husband and son were out in the fields taking care of the crops, and she didn't like what he said, and she reached in the cabin and grabbed the rifle and chased him off.
Good for her.
Yes, that's what I thought.
Good
So,
for her.
they did, once they caught him, they did, took him to trial, and he wasn't regretful at all for the amount of people he killed or anything, and so the Union hung him, which is a good thing. So the stone that you see there, headstone, is the man's actually buried in Alabama. I was told that they found that particular headstone in Knoxville, and it was donated to us by a contractor. The coins on there represent that you knew the individual, paying respects to him, and the higher denomination coin is whether you served with him or you may have been there when he died in battle. So it's kind of unusual that we have someone's headstone and then there's actual one in Alabama. The flag above the door is that you entered is a Confederate battle flag from Nathan Bedford Forrest's unit. So we're very lucky to get that. The young lady who donated it to us originally, when she had it, she made the bad mistake of gluing it to the whiteboard. So when she went to the that PBS traveling antique show. Yeah.
So you ruined it, it's worthless.
Yep. So she donated it to us. So
Well, that was nice.
yes. The weapons in the case over here behind you. You can spin around. These are examples of firearms that were available during the Civil War. We have a real Confederate pistol there on the second shelf, and of course a replica of the Derringer that killed Abraham Lincoln. And of course, as you can see, besides the muskets, there are lever action rifles were available, but they were only used by units from Illinois and Ohio. The U.S. Army had evaluated them in 1860 and determined they were too expensive to operate, so they didn't buy them. What other gun did the United States Army not buy that was available during the Civil War?
Colt?
Nope, you can see it right there. There's the Colt
Oh.
rifle. What was the first machine gun?
Thompson?
Gatlin.
gun.
Gatlin, that's right.
It was available and they didn't buy it because it fired less cartridges. That was Colt's answer to a black powder rifle. Back then, fired 6 shots. The bad news was, have you ever fired a black powder pistol?
No.
You had, back then they used softened beeswax to seal the cylinders. Once you put the powder in, then you put the ball in. You gotta seal all the cylinders, put the caps on the nipples, get ready to pull the trigger. Well, if you don't have them sealed properly, you end up having multiple cylinders going on.
Oh boy.
Which means, guess where some of that lead's liable to go?
Yeah, right into you.
Right back in your face if you're
Yep.
a Union soldier. So the Union soldiers did not like those. They would rather have a Sharps instead. So. The prints on the wall are copies of the prints by Gilbert Gall, a famous artist at the time, who was moved from New Jersey to Fall Creek Falls and Van Buren County. And you can see these are examples of the ones that were donated to us. The originals are in the Smithsonian, so we're fortunate to have copies of them. The cannon you see here is an 1841 howitzer. You might want to pass the camera over real quick.
Jeez.
12-pound solid shot. They would use that for structures, buildings, bridges, not on troops, of course.
Yeah, I still hate to get hit with one.
Sir?
You wanna hold it?
No, thanks, I've done it before.
Good, thanks.
Okay.
I've bowled before.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I have a 12-pound.
Have you heard of the
ball.
parrot gun?
Pardon?
The parrot gun?
Parrot gun?
Parrot gun. The Union had them.
Yes, that was a rifled cannon.
Yes, it was.
Yes, it was. Yes.
We're from the town that
they
they made them.
also had, the Confederacy had rifled cannons too. Not very many of them, neither side did because they were more expensive to buy. So yes. This is a smooth bore, 12-pounder, and of course it fires, smaller shot as well as canister shot and explosive rounds. Maximum range was 1,200 yards. 12 football fields.
Yeah.
Not too shabby
No,
for
it's
black
not.
powder, is it? The carriage is original. The gun is a remake of it. This was donated to us by one of the gentlemen who started the museum. He was a Civil War reenactment group, and they use this. So it's pretty neat. And of course, then we have actual muskets.
Wow.
Let me hold your camera.
Yeah, I hate to have to carry that through the woods all day long.
Now I have a replica of a Confederate musket that is, he's not into weapons.
I'm a medic.
Oh! Now you can imagine when you fire this, now you're standing, if you step over here a minute, sir. I'm gonna face him, put your shoulder against my shoulder. This is how we stand in line,
Mm-hmm.
all right? Now when you get ready to fire, we're firing at the enemy. They're maybe 100 yards away. And we're this close,
Yeah.
getting nailed. Now you have to be able to load this 3 times in a minute while taking fire.
Yeah.
So you're gonna swab it, you're gonna put a patch in, you're gonna
Yep.
put a ball in, you're gonna put the powder in, you're gonna tap it down, then you gotta reload it, then you gotta bring it up, you gotta
You could
cock
be-
it back to the head.
You could
This
be
one
dead
doesn't
by
work.
then.
Oh yeah.
Yes, the half cock position, put the cap on so you can shoot. Thank you.
But that's the way they did war. They did the same thing during the Revolution. They were out, shoulder to shoulder, and
And these young kids
Well-
in the military now think they got it bad.
yeah.
We did in the Revolution now, we did do sometimes, the Rangers and some of those hid behind trees and were smart and then sniped.
Mm-hmm.
The British and the Europeans all did shoulder to shoulder and marching, and that's where we got the bright idea.
Right.
And that's
Now
what
we
won.
had German, French, and English officers here in the United States during the Civil War observing how we fought in the battles. So yeah, it was a little interesting. Any questions so far?
No,
Comments?
very good. Everything's going great.
The prints that you see here, the one at the bottom of Robert E. Lee, was donated to us by a preacher. They were given to him, as well as the one up above with all of the Confederate generals and the staff of the Confederacy,
I like
President
the frame.
Davis. So if you had a relative that was a Confederate general or a
I'm-
staff officer, he might be in that frame.
I may have a relative that was the vice president of the Confederacy.
Okay,
Last name is Stevens.
then he should be in that picture. Now, at the end of the Civil War, General Lee did not get his citizenship back. He submitted the paperwork to the War Department and it conveniently disappeared.
Hmm.
It wasn't until one of his best friends was who?
Grant.
Grant, Ulysses S. Grant. I like to test people's history. Not trying to impress them, but just
I'll fail.
the box you see there is made out of Tennessee poplar, which is the Brady box. This is an example that was on the Brady farm. They would, inside you'll see examples of what possibly might be put in the box to hide, as well as their crop money. They would bury them on the farm. Unfortunately, both sides would take their sabers and bayonets, probe the ground looking for these boxes, because you know how well soldiers were paid back then, and
Yep.
every army since before Moses has done what? If it's not tied
Pillage.
down, we take it.
Yep.
Chuck? Kitty? We have people.
Wait a minute. Cindy? Yes. Hi, come on in.
Ah, they're for you.
They're the ones I'm waiting.
All right, well, good.
How are you?
Now,
Chris?
the models you see in the case of the ironclads are made by veterans. All the models in this museum were made by veterans. So you can imagine wooden ships with iron plates on the outside of them firing black powder cannons. So what I like to ask is, how are you going to talk to each other once you've been shooting for 30 seconds?
Yeah, really.
And where's all the
Yeah.
smoke go?
Yeah, you had to have some sort of hand signals with
Yep.
each other. And of course, you can see we also had submarines during the Civil War,
Yep.
which were very primitive, but really interesting. One of the young ladies who you see there, Dr. Mary Walker, in the frame picture, was the first woman to be awarded the Medal of Honor. She was a doctor in Nashville that actually came out and treated both sides. Have you been to Franklin, Tennessee?
No, I haven't.
Well, put that on the bucket list. A really good book to read about that particular battle down there is called The Widow of the South. This is a very poor rendition of her place. She woke up one morning to have breakfast, and her staff said there was a whole lot of soldiers in the front yard. Come to find out, her and her husband's farm was in the middle of a battlefield, and she turned her home into a field hospital, trying to save as many of the soldiers as she could. Those who died there and weren't recovered are buried there, and she has all their information. Of course, then there's a. Let me step around the other side here. And I'll point that way. Now, one of the interesting young men is this gentleman right here. This is John Clem. He was, as you can see in this picture here, at age 10, he finally got accepted to one of the Union regiments, I believe, out of Michigan, and became a drummer boy. By age 12, he was promoted to sergeant. He was very bold and not afraid to take chances, needless to say. So, went on to become a Union officer, went to the West Point, and was given his commission by Ulysses S. Grant. Ended up being the longest serving Army officer for the Civil War in the United States Army. Another individual, Edmund Ruffin, was considered the father of secession. He fired the first shot in the Civil War and the last shot. Very much a warmonger. And of course, you can see we also have George Armstrong Custer. I had a gentleman in our Civil War roundtable group where we talked about history of the Civil War. I had a gentleman from Virginia who was a history professor, knew everything there knew about Grant. So I asked him, I said, what did Grant's opinion of George Armstrong Custer for the Civil War? And he said he was too brash and took too many chances with his troops. And of course, what happened at Little Bighorn? Give up high ground, go up against 1,000 Sioux with lever action rifles. You got 6 single shot weapons and divide your command. Not smart.
No, he was not the.
He's full of himself. And I understand, I haven't verified it, but I understand he also had available Gatling guns and didn't take those either.
Don't know how he made general.
Yeah. Well, it makes you wonder, even when you get into World War II, some of the people we had in command,
Yeah.
how did they get there? Of course, now this is an example, this mannequin here is showing the Spanish-American War. The canvas bag, the gun, the hat, and the canteen are all original. The rest is a reenactor's outfit. So you can see how they were dressed. Tennessee had 4,000 volunteers for the Spanish-American War. And they, not all of them got to go, some of them stayed here in the States if they went. As you can see, of course, Teddy Roosevelt was one of the people that was for the Spanish-American War. It took San Juan Hill, but he had a little help. Because the guys who went up the backside first and took the hill, did most of the heavy fighting, was the Buffalo Soldiers. Now, one of the gentlemen who was had volunteered and gone to the Spanish-American War was General Joseph Wheeler, a Confederate Civil War general, part of Hood's command. And the unusual little story I like to talk about him is at the end of the Spanish-American War, the U.S. Army did something they never did before. They invited him in to the U.S. Army as a general because he was a fabulous tactician and a very Christian gentleman. He didn't just kill like crazy as some of the generals did in the Civil War. So.
Interesting.
Have you been to, we'll move into World War I, have you been to Sergeant York's place?
No.
42 miles straight up the road is his homestead. Of course, he was awarded the Medal of Honor, as you can see there, of course, and Milo Limmer was too, another Crossville individual. He's quite a character too, was awarded. Anyway, to make a long story short, Sergeant York's homestead, when he was awarded or given his land by the state of Tennessee, the first thing he did was with it and the money that he was given is he turned around and built a Bible school first. Then he had to turn around and have a fundraiser to build the homestead for him and Miss Gracie. What you can see is he was so interested in education and saw how important it was because of the U.S. Army educated him so well that he built a high school called the York Institute in Jamestown, Tennessee, which is still there. The old building, as you can see in the print there on the picture frame, is being restored, so it's closed. But there is a new wing that's still in operation and run by the state of Tennessee. Have you seen the movie with
Gary Cooper. Yep.
Okay, there's one mistake for sure I can tell you that's in that movie. Do you know what it is?
No, I don't.
You know where Gary Cooper kisses Miss Gracie on screen? Remember that?
Vaguely.
Never happened. According to his son, I was very fortunate in the 3 times that I've been up there to the property and took a tour. The first 2 times I had the son, and the last one I had his grandson, who was a retired lieutenant colonel, United States Army, give us a tour, and he got such wonderful background on the family. It's really cool. But anyway, his son said, yeah, Mom and Dad never smooched in public and wouldn't even do it in front of the children. They would go behind closed doors and do it.
Wow.
Now that's reserved.
Yeah, that is.
So this is an example of the uniform of World War I, what they wore. I had an uncle in World War I, my Uncle Earl King, and he was one of the unfortunate young men that did not have a gas mask when the Germans used mustard gas. Didn't kill him, but it messed him up really bad, as the medic will tell you. And he could only eat salads from then on. He couldn't really have steak or anything like that. But I always thought it was amazing because as I talked with him as a young man and everything, you would have never known he was a warrior. Just the kindest, soft-spoken gentleman in the world. So, the red caboose that you saw coming into town, that's where Sergeant York came into, as well as Milo Limerick. And you've probably seen the movie Horse Soldiers with John Wayne?
Yes.
All right, come over and squeeze the saddle.
It's a rugby cushion, sure.
It's hard.
That's a McClellan. Can you imagine riding that 50 to 100 miles?
No. I can't imagine being on a horse, period, for that far.
That kind of explains how when you watch the TV series Gunsmoke and you see Festus walking like this, it explains everything. Boy, if I had to ride that, I'd be dead. The new ones today, saddles, are just, so well padded. They're made of wood, of course. The original ones, when they first started making saddles, were made with bone and then barely covered with leather.
Wow.
Yeah. So
It's funny you should mention Festus. I got a picture of Ken Curtis and me together on my phone here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met him back in 74 in Prescott Valley, Arizona.
Oh, wow. He's an impressive gentleman.
He was very nice.
Yeah.
He was excellent, very nice person.
Yeah. He could tell you stories about John Wayne.
My daughter is also, I got a picture of her and John Wayne's youngest daughter together. They're friends out in California.
Yeah. Yeah. He was very upset that he couldn't go, into the war in World War II because the movie studios said, nope, we're not going to lose everybody.
No.
So they put a lot of pressure on him to keep him. So, these are examples of weapons that were available in World War I, as you can see. And of course the rail guns, and the unusual pistol I like to point out is the German machine gun pistol.
Yep.
Have you flown in a bi-wing plane?
No, I have not.
Oh, you got to put that on your bucket list. My daughter took me up in one, and that was the greatest thing in the world. I'll fly in one of those, and you could imagine what those pilots were like flying that plane, and dodging bullets and trying to do all that. So. Amazing young men in those machines that were just held together with wood and string and wire, a little bit of glue. As in World War I, when we talk about the tank. Oops, I got this one turned around. Let's put this one over here so you can see. There we go. First World War I tank, one of the gentlemen who helped invent tanks in World War I, as far as the British were concerned, was Winston Churchill. He saw a tractor in a field like this with the tread pattern and thought, what, that'd be nice with a gun on it. So he sat down, had a long conversation with the British Army, and basically they told him, you're daft. They didn't think it was gonna go. So Winston Churchill, just before World War I, was in charge of the Navy Department. So he ordered a Navy captain to design a tank. So the first British tank was designed by the Navy.
Navy.
And it has, of course, the nomenclature for deck, bulkhead, overhead is all named in the tank. So, and then when we get into World War II, let's talk about the Flower class Corvette. Do you know about those?
No, I don't.
Okay. We didn't have enough ships to escort all the transports in World War II.
That's true.
So the British Navy loaned us these Flower class Corvettes to use in World War II. And then
Didn't
at the
know
end of
that.
the war, we donated them or returned them back to service to the British Navy. There is also, and I forget the name of it, you might have to do a little research for me and refresh me, but there is an island in South Carolina that actually has a British sailor graveyard. You remember that one?
Hilton Head's Georgia.
I thought it was South Carolina.
No, I'm just trying to think of the islands.
Anyway, they go up until the pandemic. They would go down there every year and pay homage to
Paris
the
Island?
comrades. No,
Where the Marines are? No.
but
No. The only islands I can think of South Carolina is Paris Island and Fort Sumter.
yeah. No, I've been to Paris Island. It's not that. I went down there. One of my duties in my fire department is I taught emergency vehicle operators course for fire, police, ambulance, and EOD. So I got to travel, and I went to Paris Island and taught the fire department and the police department. I even got to do it at Quantico teaching the Marines. I got a kick out of teaching them how to drive police cars because they'd always ask me, "Can you drive?" I go, "Okay." So I ripped through the course, and of course, never touch a cone. They go, "How can you do this? You know, you're a fireman." I go, "It's not a 22-ton fire truck.
No, it's not.
You gave me a sports car. Of course I can drive." Of course, you already know all about this in World War II.
I've been on board. I've been aboard the Missouri.
In Tokyo Harbor.
About that one.
Huh?
Why
You
was the Missouri in Tokyo Harbor?
to sign the armistice or
Yeah.
the surrender?
Uh-huh. There's a little more to it.
I don't know. That's it.
Who was president?
Truman.
Truman. And he was from Missouri. And of course, the Missouri was the most decorated battleship in World War II.
Okay,
So
now that makes sense.
two political statements in one. One little thing that's not in the history books is when MacArthur came aboard, they weren't sure that the Japanese were going to come out and sign the documents. So he had all the Navy ships point their guns at Tokyo and said, if they don't come out, level it. This is an actual bomb site from a Japanese bomber. It was donated to us. And of course, one of the individuals who made a big donation to the Arizona Memorial was Elvis Presley,
Oh.
a Tennessean.
Mm-hmm.
Very proud American, loved America with a passion. So. And then over here we have Japanese weapons from World War II, as well as a bazooka from the movie Saving Private Ryan, which Matt Damien shot at the track. Now, you couldn't knock a tank out with those, but you could knock out the treads.
Mm-hmm.
We lost a bunch of them in Africa in a battle with the Germans. The Germans found them and said, what a neat weapon, and made their own version. You can look on the internet for them. They're called Panzerschall. Theirs had a little bit better explosive head than ours did to begin with. And then they also made a smaller handheld one that was really effective. But there's first ones like this that they fired from the shoulder. The rocket motors had such toxic fumes from the chemicals that they used that you look at some of the pictures, they had to wear gas masks.
Wow.
Now, I know you've seen the movie. I had a World War II veteran who was on the fourth wave, and he told me what you saw in the movie Saving Private Ryan at the beginning, the amount of soldiers that died on the beaches there was pretty close to being exactly true.
I was an operations specialist or a radarman,
Yeah.
and we had to study and learn and execute naval gunfire support. So yeah, we learned all about amphibious ops and how they have to consider a huge percentage of losses in order to man and guarantee success in the invasions. It's scary.
It is. And of course, we cannot comment without saying about Rosie the Riveter and how much women contributed to the help of World War II. I was also told that one of the interesting things that happened with World War II, which I did not know about, was that they also had Red Cross volunteers, women, who had a deuce and a half that was converted and built and carried hot coffee and fresh donuts to the troops. Boy, you talk about a morale builder.
Yeah, really.
And of course, we have radios from World War II, a British machine gun.
Not too much different from what they had in the early 70s.
No, not really. No, the radios were pretty basic back then. Well, when they hit the beaches, the radios did not work the first day or two because the crystals, they put the wrong crystals in. So they had to put new crystals in them. So they had a little bit of communication problems.
The engineering E.
Yep. Yeah, we all fought for those, didn't we?
Engineman, machinist mate, electrician, boiler tech, eye seaman.
Yeah.
Now let's see. The boiler techs are gone, the machinist mates are gone. They still have enginemen, they still have electricians, and they still have eye seamen.
Yeah. Still got sonar techs?
Yes.
Okay.
The radio men are now information technician men.
Really?
They still have the sparks, but it's IT now, not
Oh,
RM.
my. Yeah. Things change.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they don't have as many people on board as they used to.
No, they don't.
Yeah. It's amazing. Have you read the book Citizen Soldier by Stephen Ambrose?
No, I haven't.
If you get a chance, pick up a copy. You'll really like it. It's really good. You can see the pictures of all the young men who went to war here that were in World War II. The U.S. Army taught them basics in boot camp, how to fire their weapons, how to do a little bit of hand-to-hand combat, but they didn't teach them how to get off the beaches at Normandy. We had to figure that one out. Then we got inland to the hedgerow country. We didn't know how to get through the brush to find the Germans and attack them. Took 3 individuals to design a blade for the front of the Sherman tank before we could punch through and get to the Germans. When we got to the cities, what happened then? They didn't know how to do house-to-house
Fire,
fighting.
right.
So we had to adapt and overcome there. So what I'm saying is the American soldier was very adaptive in World War II. Very important young ladies here are the WASPs. Now, these were women pilots who were actually supposedly supposed to be part of the United States Army, but the government lied. They weren't. They were just
Shocking.
civilians, contractors. Basically, they had to buy their own uniforms, had to pay for their own meals and housing. The patch on the uniform jacket is designed by Walt Disney for them. Now, these young ladies were certified pilots, taught men how to fly the airplanes. So 2 examples I like to talk about. One is Brigadier General Jimmy Stewart, retired United States Air Force.
Yep.
Flew B-24 bombers in World War II, taught initially on 1 plane. The other one is, oh God, now I lost his name there real quick. Chuck Yeager,
Ah,
P-51 pilot. Okay. First plane he flew in World War II, only on one. These girls had to be certified on everything the United States Army Air Corps had and be able to fly it, and taught men to fly the plane.
and they were treated like crap.
And they were treated like crap. This young lady here, we have a big picture of, was a nurse from the Korean War and World War II, one of our local residents. So, I have a lot of those here.
Let's go search on Patricia.
And then we'll get in a little more on World War II. Of course, you know about Chesty Puller, right?
Yep. Oh God, yes.
All right. Why did he only wear one star?
That I don't know.
At the end of World War II, he was authorized the second star by Congress. He told Congress, I didn't earn it, I don't wear it.
Good for him. Yeah, I operated with the ship named after him quite a few times off the coast
ya?
of California. Yep, Louis B. Puller. Yep.
Ate up. He was an amazing general. He was really good, very good tactician. Knew what he was doing over there in the Pacific. So, we just lost here one of our local residents, Wheeler Miller, who was in Saipan, World War II veteran. Used to drive in up until about 2 years ago. He used to drive in from his home here and come visit us, as well as one of our Vietnam veterans that was in charge of the.
Are these the script they used in Korea?
Yes,
Yeah, you see it on MASH quite a bit.
yes. Yeah, we have another little example over there when we get to Korea.
Japs plead for Allies' mercy. Yeah, they should have.
The machine gun you see there, British machine gun that's down there, it's cut, was used up until 1958, and the British cut them in half so that their enemy couldn't use them against them. The unusual thing, of course, is this top clip fed, but it was very effective. Never jammed.
Wow.
So, pretty good. And of course, these are German firearms from World War II.
Oh yeah. I was fortunate enough to shoot the second magazine of a 1941 minted Luger. This man's father brought it back from Germany during World War II. Had never been fired. He shot the first magazine. He let me shoot the second.
Oh.
It was a nice firing gun.
I was had a chance to get one, but I was just a brand new sailor in the Navy. I was working for a W-4, and that boatswain, I tell you, he was God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was an amazing gentleman. He was going to hook me up and get me one, but I just didn't make enough money to throw around and get one, so I passed up the deal.
Had 3 swastikas on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, the unusual item we have here in the German thing is the USS Eagle there, Coast Guard tall ship, which is an actual German battleship. Was captured during World War II. The Allies voted who was going to give it, and of course America got it, and the Navy already has what ship?
Oh, well, they got the Constitution up in Boston.
That's it. Yes. So they gave it to the Coast Guard, and the Coast Guard sails it around, trains their sailors, and goes to all of the tall ship exhibits with it.
The Navy uses it too in Chesapeake Harbor or Chesapeake Bay.
Yep. I don't know why they don't take the Constitution out and run it more than what they should.
Yes, they should, especially after the revamping they
Just
did with it
look at
recently.
what it would do for America. Of course, you already know about the submarine up in Chicago, German submarine that was
Yep.
captured. The sailors were told not to mention a word about it because what did it have on board?
That I don't know.
the Enigma machine.
Oh.
The British had already decoded it 2 years in advance, so they were not allowed to talk anything about it.
Gotcha. I didn't know the Enigma was on it. Okay.
These are examples of German ceremonial daggers. Some are original, some are replicas. This one is original, Hitler's Youth Corps. In the Battle of the Bulge, Hitler was so short of manpower that he put 16-year-old kids out on machine guns. Of course, we have examples of tanks, airplane models over there. You can see the Sherman, that they put the blade on the front. I had a gentleman who was part of Patton's 4th Armor come through, and on the tour, I was very proud to be able to talk with him and do it. And he said, have you seen the movie Fury with Brad Pitt?
Yes.
Okay, that was a Hollywood scaled-down version of actually how they did it. He said when they went up against the Panzer, they actually sent seven tanks, Shermans, against one Panzer.
Yeah, well, the
6
Panzers
would
were
die,
no joke.
1 would get him
Yep.
from behind. Yeah, he said that we hated it with a passion. And he said, yes, Patton was crazy and was always out in front of the troops. Never hid behind the lines like any of the other generals did in World War II. And of course, firearms that we used in World War II, the M1 Garand, that was considered to be the weapon by Patton that won the war.
Yep.
I actually got to fire those in boot camp in 1970. I thought that was impressive. I had Marine Corps gunny sergeant. Got thumped on my helmet because I was hitting my target, and the gunny sergeant said, "Boy, how come you can hit this target and the rest of these yahoos can't?" So I told him, "Well, my dad used to take me hunting." He said, "Good, keep it up." I found out what keep it up was. I got more qualified on weapons.
Yep.
My ship was very happy.
Never got the shot one, but sure had to carry one around all the time.
Oh, I loved it. He made sure we got our thumbs smashed too, so we'd know not to do that again. Yeah. Now they shoot 22s.
Yeah.
How can that give you any experience with a weapon you're going to use in the field?
Firearm safety is all it's about.
That's all it's about. Yes, sir, Chief. You got it. Unusual weapon that we had here. Here's the Russian Nagant. I had 2 gentlemen come through the museum. You would have swore to God one of them had just stepped out of the Russian army yesterday. Big monster of a boy. They were from Kurdistan, both of them. And he told me this was made in 2 variants. One was single action for the enlisted and double action for the officers. So that told you who was the expendable crew members,
Oh, yeah.
as far as the Russians were concerned. And of course, the grease gun. Don't forget to shoot that one. Thompson, which is very precision machined weapon. Excellent. Got to fire that too.
I've
Maybe.
shot 3 of those. 2 of them were serial number consecutive, and the other one was off the fantail. I was a volunteer. In fact, because I was from Las Vegas, I was the petty officer in charge of casino night.
Oh,
So the weapons officer had one with the can, and got to shoot it off the fantail.
they're really, they're a great gun. So here's you a little history question so you can pass on to all your buddies. As far as World War II movies go, what's the only military movie that shows the correct procedures for firing a Thompson submachine gun full auto? There's only one that I know of.
I have no, there's so many, I have no
I
idea.
have not a clue.
To hell and back with Audie Murphy.
Oh, Murphy.
Because Audie
Okay.
Murphy used one in World War II.
Two.
He knew you turn it sideways, pull the trigger, and
Right.
strafe with it.
Otherwise you
hold
go
it
up.
like this, as in Wind Talkers, they show Nicolas Cage shooting it from the shoulder. No, it does this.
Mm-hmm.
Very good, sir. Yeah,
That's right.
it's amazing. So we have a lot of things. Back wall there is all of the fallen soldiers that we have that are local residents. So, yeah.
On this board, they're all locals?
Yes.
That's interesting. That's in Battery Park. I never saw that.
Now, you know, the Merchant Marine in World War II, when they originally did everything, the Merchant Marine sailors, they had no weapons on board for quite a while, what, at least a couple of years or so before they decided to put any kind of guns on them to combat the German submarines.
That is a fact. I had a cousin who served in the Merchant Marines but in the 60s.
They did a heck of a job.
That they did. Way City. Yep, I've been seeing her. I see you got a Ticonderoga ball cap up there somewhere.
Yes.
CG. I have a picture of my ship shooting a torpedo in the direction of the Ticonderoga. We were moored in Roosevelt Roads, Puerto Rico, and they were just doing an exercise and doing maintenance on the torpedo tube, but they had to shoot a dummy. And there's the end of the torpedo tube, the torpedo going out of it, and there's the Ticonderoga.
Tycho right there, huh? Yeah, that's some interesting things. So.
Wow.
All right, if we'll proceed into the next room. And of course, we do have a model of my favorite battleship here. It's in New Jersey.
Been on her too.
Me too. Welcome some more to World War II. We also have over here in the case, we have pieces of the Berlin Wall and Checkpoint Charlie, as well as that big thing over there in the corner with the hole in the center is actually from the prisoner of war camp that we had here in Crossville. It's where they dumped their garbage after they had lunch. We have captured documents over there in the frame over on the side there on the cabinet with Hitler's signature on it. This was out the other side of the airport on a 70 South, or I should say West, and is now a yeah, these
That circle right there
uh-huh.
in the southern New York, it's Greenhaven Prison in Dutchess County. My father worked there after the war,
Okay.
but he told me the history that we had a lot of Germans locked up there.
Yeah.
And
All of those
they didn't
dots
want to go home.
Represent prisoner of war.
They had it so well that they didn't want to leave.
This is now a 4-H camp, so there's nothing left. Everything that's on here is all that's left from the camp that we're able to get.
What's with the big flag with all the writing on it?
Those are the soldiers that worked in the camp here that captured, they brought that flag from the prisoners.
Okay.
These were all German and Italian officers from Africa. 1600, and then the Italians didn't get along with the Germans, so they had to farm them out to a different camp. We had one SS officer that was farmed out to another camp because he was trying to get everybody to desert and leave. We also had a sub-commander who was moved also for the same reason. When they tore the camp down, they found 3 attempts for tunnels from the camp, but the bad news is Tennessee has a lot of rock.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to go far. These gentlemen were fed 2,000 calories a day. The American GI in Europe got maybe 700 to 1,000. At the end of the war, they were taken down the street to the Palace Theater and showed the captured films of our soldiers in World War II in the camps. They didn't believe that their government would do that to them. all of them got sent home. There's only one gentleman who's still out at the 4-H camp, his gravesite, because they couldn't find any family
Oh.
and weren't able to send him home. But everybody else is. One of the gentlemen, if you want to spend big bucks, you can buy this book on eBay for about $200. It's called The Bob Wire. This gentleman and his son were actually prisoners in this camp during World War II, and he lives now in Alexandria, Virginia. Very old and very poor health. I had a gentleman from Nashville, one of the museums down there, wanted to get a hold of him and try and get him to do a reprint of the book, and he said, "No, it's time to put it to rest." He didn't want to go over it.
Yeah,
Beat a subject.
I kind of understand that, but still, history doesn't die.
No. And of course, one of the gentlemen that was here that was one of our prisoners was this gentleman here, who was actually a Luftwaffe pilot. He was allowed to paint this painting of his barracks and send it home to his wife as a postcard. And yes, it's the real deal.
Oh my
His
goodness.
son brought it back to us after he passed away. We have all his information here. Any of these binders, you may open and read whatever's in there.
Wow.
Bless you.
Now, you know about Rommel.
Yep.
All right. Why was Rommel killed?
I don't know why he was killed, but he was not a real Nazi. He was just doing his duty.
He was he was a career Wehrmacht,
Yeah.
a real officer. He was Hitler's favorite general. He also knew about the assassination attempt that was going to happen on Hitler and did not tell his Führer that
Oh, I
this
didn't
was
know
going
that.
down. So when they found out that he knew about it, Hitler gave him an ultimatum. Either you commit suicide or I kill you and your whole family. To save his family, he took suicide. The SS picked him up, took him out, gave him a cyanide pill, but then shot him in the back of the head to make sure he was dead. To save his family.
Sick son of a gun.
This is our Korean War section that we have.
Gestapo hat.
Wasn't there, so I can't tell you a whole lot about this one yet. Still learning.
Shouldn't have been there in the first place. My opinion.
Well, you know, we just like World War II. In World War II, we didn't listen. Politicians got in the way and stopped because Patton wanted to go all the way to Moscow. If he'd have done that, we wouldn't have what we have going on today.
That's true.
Korea, MacArthur wanted to go all the way to Peking. They wouldn't let him do that either. And we wouldn't have the problems we have today.
Yeah, there's truth to that.
My mother's brother fought in the Korean War. He was a pilot, and he was shot down over the Sea of Japan.
Oh my goodness.
Never recovered.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that happens a lot. I mean, you get shot down and you hit that water, it's like hitting a brick.
Mm-hmm.
He had done his 3 or 4 years, but re-enlisted.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Domain of the Golden Dragon. That's the one I don't have.
Yeah, proud American. We do things like that.
I am a blue nose and a shellback, but I'm not a golden dragon.
Hmm. And then in here is Vietnam.
Another place I don't think we should have been either.
Yeah, I got to
They
go
shouldn't
there.
have got the way we did.
I did, out of my 4 years in the Navy, I did 3 years, 9 months, 11 days sea time. Navy got their money's worth out of me.
So my brother was on the Truxton, escorting the Enterprise over there.
Yeah. So the gentleman that I work with that's in there is Chuck Molina. He was a actual Army gentleman who was in ordnance crew. One of our local residents we have here that is over here on this side with the examples of uniforms that we have is Jack Fogel, who was Navy. He was Riverines, and if you'll get a chance, put your hand in here and you can feel the 2 bullets where it came through his bulletproof vest here. Luckily it didn't go into him. Jack killed the individual who the VC carrying the gun and still has the weapon at home.
That had to hurt though.
Had to hurt though, yes. You know he got bruised. Okay, you can see right where these are.
Oh yeah, oh my God, yes.
I was quite surprised because I did not know that the Navy units, Riverines, actually wore tiger stripes.
I didn't either.
You know, I thought they wore regular fatigues. But this is his actual uniform. So it's quite
Yeah, I
surprising.
thought they were.
Yeah, BDUs.
Like
regular
at, yeah,
BDUs,
like
yeah.
out of Apocalypse Now.
Yeah. Because the only ones that wore these that I noticed when I was in Vietnam was South Vietnamese. Special Forces wore,
Mhm.
South Vietnamese Special Forces wore
The British
tiger
SAS did too.
Yeah. So we learn something new all the time.
If it happened, we're still going to war.
Yeah. I could tell you some interesting stories over there.
You don't have my patch anywhere in here.
Pardon?
You don't have my patch. I was a Fuji warrior,
Oh.
27 months in Japan,
Well,
Working
you might
physical
have to
therapy.
donate one to us.
if I had one.
If you have one. Oh.
USS Kid 993. The Kid was part of the Ayatollah class.
Yeah.
It was one of the 3-4 Spruance destroyers that was modified with a missile launcher, sold to Iran. And even though they were Spruance destroyers, they were still called DDGs and numbered with the destroyers and not with the guided missile destroyers.
Really?
Yep, that's
Yeah, the Navy did crazy things sometimes.
Yeah.
Didn't they? Yeah. That's like
They should have-
when, McNamara built the destroyer escorts, the Knox
Knox class.
You know, he's cut them down from twin screw to single screw. Bad news.
Yep,
Took off an extra gun from them, put a missile platform on the back.
And ASRock.
And, you know, you got ASRock forward Sparrow on the fantail.
yep.
I remember we were off the coast shooting, and the after watch on the fantail screaming over the sound powered phones. Just as I came up on the bridge to tell the captain we weren't sinking, he goes, "You need to get this blankety blank out of here. We got 3 SAM missiles coming in on us right now." We got shot at a lot.
It's like when the Hailer, for instance, the last destroyer.
Yeah.
It was, we called it first in its class, second to none, or last in its class, second to none, because it was the last Spruance destroyer. But the 3 or 4 prior to the Hailer
Yeah.
were what we called the Kid class, the Ayatollah class. And Navy wanted another cruiser. They said, no, you got all these spare parts, build another destroyer. And that was the Hailer. It was a Spruance can, but it had some equipment on there that the rest of the sprue cans didn't have.
Yeah.
It was a good ship, damn good ship. Supposed to be the USS John Wayne, but Congress said no.
Yeah, they weren't too happy with John Wayne,
No, they weren't.
even though he supported the war effort tremendously in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. And veterans.
Yeah.
They did get a USNS Bob Hope out of it, though.
Well, you know, one of the people that did not get along with John Wayne in the movies was Lee Marvin,
Yep.
World War II veteran,
Iwo Jima.
Pacific Marine.
Him and Captain Kangaroo.
Yep.
who also lived in the town that we're from in New York. We lived right across the Hudson from West Point.
Wow.
And the West Point foundry was in the village that we're from. So,
Okay. Look at the history we got. Yeah, that's the thing coming from San Diego here, being a California boy, I've learned a lot back here. I love it. I mean, my wife and I could not have lived in San Diego retired on a federal fireman's
no.
retirement, you know.
Nope. Although that's the best place in California to live, in my opinion.
It was really good. I mean, I was lucky to get out. I was, of course, as my wife would probably tell you, I was one crazed fireman. So because I loved my job, I retired as a captain, and I got to do everything in my fire department. We were one of the 2 fire departments in the nation that did shipboard, crash fire rescue, structural, wildland, high-rise, hazmat, ambulance. And I got to do it all before a little bit of everything.
Got a set of those packed away.
Yeah, well, I never got that.
We call them choker whites because of the marine
Right,
collar.
collar.
Yeah.
I hated dress whites.
How did you stay clean?
Very
Didn't.
carefully.
2 minutes off the
Never
ship,
seen
you
me
got dirty, didn't we,
Yep.
In
Chief?
white
Yes,
pants.
we did.
I
That
wouldn't
was the
take
worst
it out
thing.
of the
They're
house.
beautiful, but oh my God.
Yeah. Now you see this 1 star here?
Yeah.
That's senior. You see the 2 stars on him?
Yeah,
That's Master Chief.
Master
That's
Chief.
E9.
Yeah.
but why did they pick white? I can't get out of my house with a pair of white pants on.
Navy has been white since the mid 1800s.
Yeah.
That is the worst color
Especially,
in the world for military.
you know what that flap in the back of the uniform is called?
Well, it's like when
Tar
you start
flap.
looking at everything.
Because they would tar their ponytails.
why
and
did
that kept
we
from spoiling
go,
the uniform.
Navy go to the blue splatted BDUs?
The
that
blueberries, they don't anymore.
That's good.
They got rid of
So stupid.
Yeah, why do you need to be in cami at sea? It makes no
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
If you want to be cami at sea, it should be a haze gray
Their
jumpsuit.
dress uniforms, okay. But how often did you wear dress uniforms?
Quite often, change of commands, entering
Oh,
port,
man,
leaving
yeah.
port, on watch. Not
Watch.
quite this. This is a above. Regular crew didn't wear this. Is officers and chiefs. We did have white shoes, white slacks, and a short sleeve white polo shirt, like except it was a button down. That was our dress whites. This is our choker whites. This is up and above. This is what you would wear for dinner dress. But then there's a uniform over that.
Hopefully it didn't
That's a
dress.
vest and a cummerbund
You
and
weren't eating anything with ketchup on it.
And
Yeah.
for you, being a medic, when I went in the Navy in '70, the Navy was using air guns to give shots. I watched
Yep.
the sailor get ripped up real good
Yep.
as he moved. You know, and I thought, oh my God, in the fleet, you know, but the best shots I ever got was the corpsman on a ship just rocking and rolling. It was amazing how they give
Yep.
shots without tearing you
That
up.
was my father.
I,
He was a Navy.
I'll tell you.
the guy in front of me at AFES got his arm
Yeah.
ripped open with an air gun. Yep. I still got the scars.
I had a
Little
a
dimples on my
VTC
arm.
chief is my CO with my company 200 out of San Diego NTC, and we went from a 67-man company to 45, the minimum to graduate. He cut us down that good. We had to win every infantry award except one. We could not win the daily infantry award. Drove the chief nuts.
Nuts.
But then whenever the boys wanted to whine, he would double time us to the fence
Yeah.
and say, you don't like it, I could put you over there with the Marines.
Yeah, we had guys thought that was the fence to Mexico. You know, you get the people from the
Yeah.
Midwest that don't know any better, and they think they're in San Diego. That's Mexico over there.
That's
And they go run for it, and they spend 2 weeks in Marine training. Then they get set back
Yeah.
to the Navy training.
And it's dead time too while they're over there.
Yep.
You get to start over. Not a good thing.
And the German, you could see the German Shepherd's eyes at night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One of the, for you, since you're Navy, You can see the gentleman here, BDUs there for the USS San Francisco, SN 711. If you'll pull that picture out down there in the bottom of there and show it to him. Spin around.
Oh,
No,
Oh,
the other way.
here.
oh. Ah,
This is Captain Garkey, who is now a Navy doctor in charge of infectious diseases out of San Diego Balboa Naval Hospital.
okay.
And that's him on the bridge at
Cool.
flight speed. I
That's
think that's a very
cool.
cool picture.
I've only toured a submarine once. I've never been
I have a
on
good
one
friend of mine
underway.
who was in the submarine service, and him and I have talks, and I told him, I said, yeah, you couldn't pay me to be a bubblehead.
I was stationed in Lexington when the USS Kentucky submarine was commissioned. And a photographer from Lexington took a picture called David's Farm.
Yeah.
There's only 4 copies of it.
Mm.
One is in the White House. The second one's on board the USS Kentucky. The third one's in my ex-wife's living room.
Oh my.
And the fourth one is in my former CO's living room in Murfreesboro, here in Tennessee.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those coins. I didn't get a lot of those. They didn't pass
Challenge
those
coins?
out. I got one from a Marine Corps pilot who had a generator fire on his Harrier because we got there before the crash crew did, and we put his plane out. So he's very pleased about that. He said, "How did the structural crew get here first?" I said, "We're only just a few blocks away. By the time they figure it out and, pass the word, the crash crews come, we were already here."
Yeah, these didn't come into vogue until after I retired.
Yeah. It's a neat thing that they're doing. I really do think.
I ran into a group of, it was a chief, master chief, and a senior chief in Blueberries
Yeah.
out at Nellis Air Force Base one day. I was at the exchange, and I walked over and talked to him about his uniform and stuff. They hated him. And he gave me one of his challenge coins from his squadron. It was nice.
And then over there is special ops weapons that you'll. Some of them have just been updated and they're still using. And of course, the simulator that used to be used for the M1 Abrams by
Mhm.
the Tennessee National Guard here in Crossville, they took the circuit boards out of it, which kind of upsets the kids because they can't get in it and drive the tank too well, but they still get in it and, dream, which is good.
Yep.
Make sure mom and dad takes pictures for them.
Yep. Anything to promote the military.
I was trying to remember what I had in basic. It seems like it was a 14, but I don't remember having a 14.
Say what now?
Trying to remember what I used in basic.
Oh,
I had the honor of meeting him in person.
Who's that?
He was an amazing
Schwarzkopf?
general, really knew what he was talking about as far as Iraq is.
A nice
Don't go back any
man
further.
he was.
Okay, yeah, I feel it in my back.
I did a couple of charity events
Yeah,
in Florida that he was the chairperson of. What a nice man.
yeah,
I'm again Lexington during Desert Storm,
uh-huh,
and the first Kentuckian killed during Desert Storm was having their funeral at the Lexington Cemetery, National Cemetery, and we were right across the hall from the Marines. And I walked in one Monday. It was after our drill weekend. I went in on Mondays anyway because I was the command senior chief. And they tell me, "Hey, seniors,
He
is
never signed,
Al Gray's in town."
but he signed.
Commandant of the Marine Corps at the time.
Mm.
And I said, "Oh, okay. Should I tell my CO?" He says, "No, he's not coming here. He's going directly to the gravesite." I said, "Well, thanks for letting me know,
Couldn't help
Corporal."
but have respect for him.
And a few minutes later, Senior Chief, he's coming to the Reserve Center. So I called the captain. I said, "Just letting you know, Al Gray's in town. He's coming to the center." Then they tell me, "Nope, he changed his mind." So I call him back. "Nope, he's not coming." My CO shows up in a red flannel plaid t-shirt, jeans, no belt, docksiders on.
yeah.
And I'm not in complete uniform. I'm not wearing my
No,
tie,
a
my
couple
collar's
times
open
we
and
did
stuff.
it a
And
few years ago.
I remember that you had him, but
I said, no.
aware.
So the Marine say he's
And he
still
gave
not
me a
coming.
book and he signed it.
15 minutes later, I hear him. See you, Chief. Coming on some board. I go, oh crap! So I run to my office, put my tie, get my cover and everything ready, and we hear him say, "You don't have any coffee?
That
Well, I'll go over to the
shirt,
Navy
yeah.
side. Navy's always got coffee," and we did.
Picture was.
But
Mhm.
I run into the CO's office to get the guest cups,
Right.
and he's already climbing the shelves to get this cup.
Oh.
And I hear, "You guys got coffee?" And we turn around and I call attention on deck. We're sitting at attention. Here's Al Gray, about this tall, big old stogie in his mouth, in his dress.
Okay, got it. Yeah, it's time for us to close up.
Oh.
Okay. And my CO keeps calling him Admiral. Welcome aboard, Admiral. I'm going, General, sir, General. So
Yeah.
we've always razzed him that my CO didn't know the difference between a general and an admiral.
Oh. Well,